morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe is a failed state. And the main reason why we are a failed state is our failure to hold free, fair, and credible elections. Ever since the late 1990s, the nation has realized that we needed to elect opposition leaders who will implement the democratic reforms to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. That has been the number one task for the opposition. When MDC, Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends launched their party in 1999, they were answering to that call. They even called their party the Movement for Democratic Change. Democratic change. Last 25 years on the political stage, they failed to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. They failed to deliver even one token democratic change to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. This is why Morgan Tsvangirai and Emmerson Mnangagwa and these Zanu PF thugs were able to blatantly rig the 2023 elections. Chamisa was the CCC candidate in those elections. He conned the people to participate in those flawed elections on the basis of an idiotic lie that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Hashtag God is in it. He even evoked the name of God. As we know, Mnangagwa blatantly rigged those elections. Soon after the elections were out, within a few months, Chamisa resigned from his party and left politics. Now he's telling us he's back. And at least one expected him to come out in the open and admit that he had lied to the people, to con them to participate in flawed elections. I'm not surprised at his explanation and his next move. I'm not surprised, I'm only disappointed. Let's listen to what he has got to say.
Abantu bonke beZimbabwe ngiyahlonipha kakhulu ngifuna ukuthi ngitshele abantu bonke beZimbabwe jikelele ukuthi hayi sizalungisa ilizwe lethu masinyane form ibandla entsha hayi no andikuzothanga batshoyisa chokutanga chandoda kugadzirisa. First of all, I want to correct the misperception and misconception that Nelson Chamisa left politics. I didn't. I left CCC and I made clear the reasons for doing so.
Can you reiterate those reasons?
Yes, number one, I said the CCC had been hijacked by my opponents and diluted, and it had actually had certain individuals from the opposition who had lost their marbles, lost their way, and lost their true values to make sure that we're an alternative to the existing establishment. And because of that, I felt that I needed to de-link, I needed to separate myself and continue to maintain my purity, my originality, and of course my clarity as a person as we continue to forge the struggle for a better life in Zimbabwe.
So when you say you're not starting a new political party, what are you doing?
Well, we are going to be part of a broad movement. You know, you don't need political parties. Political parties divide people. Political parties disjoin people. Political parties have this tendency of raising toxicity, hate, and say all sorts of negative vibes. What we need in this country is a movement for Zimbabweans, uniting the people, not in a political party sense, but in a movement. A movement unites. A political party divides. A movement drives people to a common goal. A political party can actually diverge and divide people from the common goal as a nation, as a people. So I've made mention of the fact that yes, leadership, and I'll provide that leadership howsoever I'm required to by the people of Zimbabwe. Together as a people, together as Zimbabweans, we need to come together and forge a way forward. The situation in the country is so dire and so difficult. Unemployment, challenges, water challenges, power shortages, potholes everywhere.
I think we don't have to listen to the rest of it. What is disappointing here is that we are now being told that after 25 years of MDC, CCC on the political stage, they failed to deliver any meaningful democratic changes to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections because they were a political party and not a movement. You have to stop and think again. What exactly is he trying to say there? It doesn't make any sense. We are back to where we were when he was the leader of CCC. He was argued that he should have formal structures. The party should have a constitution and they have properly elected leaders into leadership positions. He resisted that in the name of political ambiguity. The issue dragged on and on and on. It did not make any sense at all. What happened soon after the 2023 elections is that Sengezo Savangu claimed that he was the Secretary General of the party. As much as some people would want to sympathize with Chamisa, in the circumstances, it was impossible. Because Chamisa himself, claimed he was the president of that party. And yet, he had not been elected by anybody. He is the one who had refused to have proper structures and a party constitution. He just nominated himself. And it was no surprise at all that the same attitude, lack of focus, political ambiguity was to come back and bite him. Because Savangu claimed that he was the Secretary General on the same basis of this political ambiguity. The people of Zimbabwe need change, need to move on. But I honestly do not see that happening. The tragedy with Zimbabweans is that they themselves have failed to clearly define what is it they want the opposition to do. And an electorate that is ignorant, gullible, and naive is always going to be exploited by opportunists. They'll tell them one thing today, another thing tomorrow. And the electorate will continue to believe it and follow them blindly. This is where we are as a nation. The issue that must be resolved and should have been resolved by now is the acceptance of the political reality that Nelson Chamisa lied when he said he had plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes. Hashtag God is in it. That should not be open for debate. That is a mere historic fact. Why some people, even to this day, continue to struggle to accept something like that explains why the country is stuck. Chamisa is coming back to exploit that weakness. The ancient Greeks were right. Democracy, as defined as the government of the people, for the people, by the people, can only work when the electorate, the people, are well educated, objective, and are diligent in their task, their number one task of holding the leaders to account. Chamisa is able to come back now with yet another political ambiguity issue without even dealing with what happened last time. Because he knows that the people of Zimbabwe do not understand what went on. He lied to them, and it has been water off the duck's back. He's going to lie to them again, and they will be no wiser. That is the problem in Zimbabwe. As much as we want change, until we understand what that change means, what that change should be like, we will always find ourselves being exploited by political opportunists. In this case here, making a mountain out of a molehill. There is absolutely no difference between a broad-based movement and a political party. There's none. MDC CCC's failure to implement the democratic reforms and end the Zanu PF dictatorship had nothing to do with the fact that the MDC, although it was called a movement, as far as Chamisa was concerned, it was a party. And it should have been a broad-based movement. It didn't fail because of that. It failed because there were no quality leaders in the MDC or in CCC. And as we can see, that has not changed. Chamisa is coming back and has got absolutely nothing to offer. And the tragedy is the people of Zimbabwe will welcome him and follow him just as blindly as they've done in the past. The worst thing that can happen to Zimbabwe right now is for the country to go into the 2028 elections, going to participate in those elections because they believe another one of Chamisa's idiotic lies. And by participating in their millions, gives Zanu PF legitimacy and thus perpetuate the dictatorship. That would be the most tragic thing to happen to Zimbabwe, because it will only show that we have learned nothing. After 45 years of rigged elections, we should at least have learned the sheer futility of participating in rigged elections. Food for thought. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.